हाँ जी सर। हो गया सर, अब आ जाइए वापस, आप ज्वाइन कर लीजिए, अब सब सॉर्टेड हो गया। Am I audible to everyone? Just say, just raise your hand or just write a message, yes or no. Perfect. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I first of all, I request everyone to switch off their videos and do not start the videos at any point of time. Okay. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar series which LegalVox has started from last Sunday, and we'll be doing it often now. So first of all, it's necessary that what LegalVox is. LegalVox is a student-run organization started by few students of Bharatiya Vidyapeeth College, and now it's trying to impart knowledge as much as possible, that too in free of cost only. So by conducting webinars, by conducting quizzes, by holding blogs, and even by the Instagram posts, which if the people are seeing it, they will be knowing about it. Now, the purpose of the webinar, since in the lockdown, we all know that virtual classrooms is the only options left with us. So therefore, this is the, somebody message me, I am not audible. Please check your connection once, please.
You.
Yes, sir. You are saying something?
Yeah, I'm saying just ask somebody, maybe can take care of these IT issues.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Maybe anybody from the team.
Yes, sir.
Like Anuj Solanki saying that he can't hear.
Because sir, you were mute, but now I have started it. Don't worry, sir. Okay. So beginning with it, we are also live on the Facebook. So if you are not able to hear it from here, you can anytime go to the Facebook on our page LegalVox, and there the live streaming is going on. Though it will be 10 to 15 seconds delay, but yes, everything will be clear there. Now coming to Mr. SP Singh Chawla, who is our esteemed guest today to give a lecture or conduct the webinar on the topic of the rapid changes in the IBC. IBC is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Giving a brief introduction about SP Singh Chawla, he is a law graduate from the Bharatiya Vidyapeeth University, and from NLU Delhi he has done his LLM. He is registered with Delhi High Court Bar Association since 2012. Mr. SP Singh Chawla is also a part of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, that is ISCI, with the Northern India Regional Council, and he has his own firm that is Corp-Lit Consultants in Delhi, which is particularly practicing in the IBC, corporate restructuring, restoration matters, and all the matters related to the corporate and the transactional matters. Now, today's topic is IBC. So IBC is the law which came in around 2016. And in 2016, when there were a lot of laws related to insolvency, there was not a particular systematic law where everything was consolidated properly or everything was at one place. So IBC was initiated, and from there today, SP Singh Chawla sir will explain us how IBC has impacted the corporate law firms in India and how the working is done and how the changes have come in the because of the COVID-19 lockdown. Now over to SP Singh sir to begin it.
Thank you, Sima, for the introduction and brief about the LegalVox. I thank LegalVox for giving me this opportunity to speak on the subject which is very close to me personally, because since we, as a IBC practitioner, IBC is something which as a subject has rapidly has grown. So one should be aware of that how a law which has been made, which has been enacted, has taken a leap of, in 3.5 years, has taken a big leap. So basically, the changes now which has happened, So I would be taking out on the three phases. First, I would taking up on the foundational issues, the basic concepts of IPC. Since Ligam walks, especially made by the students and for the students, and which are catering also the members at large, where the members I'm sure are advocates, the ICSI members, the CA members who have joined us for the webinar. So those would, but obviously who practices IPC law would know about the basic concepts. But in my PPT today presentation webinar, we would be having the first phase, which would be first the basic concept, second the changes which have come, and third would be the impact of COVID-19 on the IBC practice and the IPC. I hope I am audible to everyone. Right. Now, let us go one by one and let us start for the webinar, and I would be starting my PPT. If there is any technical issue, you can pop up Steam, would be able to help you. The insolvency law was enacted on 28th of May 2016. However, the provisions of IBC law came into effect on 1st December 2016. So that is the 1st December 2016 is the date when the law became effective. And there, in that only, in the IBC code, National Company Law Tribunal, which we call it NCLT in short, was made as the adjudicating authority under the code. So all the IBC applications, like in for the example, if any matter which pertains to a civil suit goes to a civil court or district court, therefore, any matter which pertains to insolvency and bankruptcy court goes to NCLT. So the IBC, the code applies to the whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir and two other union territories which have been made post to the enactment, post to the change in Article 37. The code, as of now, why do we call IBC a code? That is something, it's a very good question. Why Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code? Why not Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act? The answer to this is very simple. Code basically, a code is something which merges different laws into one, which has to amend the provisions of other acts to become a one consolidated act. So here in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, there have been 11 schedules, articles which have been connected. So there are different acts, like Partnership Act is one of them. Custom Acts would be amended. Then Companies Act has already been amended to auto-tune with the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code provisions. That is how it is called IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy. So the code has a mechanism. It goes with that it distinguishes two people, one a operational creditor and one a financial creditor. So the code shall apply. So now the parameter that even if it's an operational creditor or a financial creditor, so the purpose behind the code is to provide a mechanism for them to get a debt recovery. So the debt recovery is majorly not the option. The corporate resolution is the basic intent why a lawmaker has formed a insolvency and bankruptcy code. But since one of the major impacts what IBC have seen over a period of 3.5 years is that it has been hit majorly by that the debt recovery has been mostly the success ratio and the resolutions have been comparatively less as comparison. So now the minimum amount of default, so this is a triggering amount. Earlier when the law was enacted until 23rd March 2020, the minimum amount of default was 1 lakh. That 1 lakh due to the COVID-19 the ministry came out with a notification on 24th March 2020, which I will be explaining how that notification came and what is the impact of that notification on the. But to understand the basic concept, the minimum amount, the threshold limit as on today has been increased from 1 lakh to 1 lakh. So the applicability of IBC. So IBC does not only include insolvency, it includes bankruptcy, liquidation, voluntary liquidation as well. Of the companies, LLP, partnerships, firms, and the individual. However, as of now, the LLP and the companies which have been corporate debtor only have been notified. Provisions relating to partnership, firms, and individual are yet to be notified. In a due course, the ministry have been tackling down with the issues of the provisions which have already been notified. This would take time, though it is much awaited, but yes, it would take time. So now to understand the basic structure of IBC. So IBC is divided into 5 parts. Part 1 is the preliminary, wherein all your different definitions and your concepts come. Part 2 is the insolvency resolution and liquidation of corporate person. Corporate person, as I have already defined, is the corporate entity, which is a company, private limited or a public limited, as well as LLP. Third part is insolvency resolution and liquidation of the individuals and partnership firms, which is yet to come. And the fourth part is the IPs. I would explain you what IPs are in my further slides. But insolvency professionals are the persons who carry out the insolvency resolution process. And information utilities which have been made in 2016 code itself, information utilities were there, but they somehow could not have been made earlier. Recently in 2019, IUs have been made. The primary work of information utilities is to store data of the company. And fifth part is miscellaneous, in which all your insolvency funds and other related items like the Limitation Act, the applicability of the overriding effect of IBC on other laws. So as I said, there are 2 important parties which rules, I would say, the IBC law, basis on which financial creditor is a person which is a financial institution who has lent some money to a corporate debtor or assigned or transferred any money. Whereas an operational creditor is somebody who has, in the due course of business, has given goods or has rendered service. These are the few I have named out the institutions which are plays a critical role in resolutions and the liquidation processes. So adjudicating authority, as I have already said, NCLT. NCLT territorial jurisdiction is something we must all understand, because these have been issues at time. What happened, a party, for example, a party A has delivered goods to party B. Party A is at Delhi, party B is at Chandigarh. So a party A wants to file a case, an insolvency application against party B, but they are confused where to file it because they are situated at Delhi. So therefore, the territorial jurisdiction of IBC is very clear. Where the corporate debtor has its registered office, they have made it very clear that the party where the corporate debtor is having its registered office would have the jurisdiction of NCLT, the adjudicator. IBBI is a regulator which regulates the insolvency professionals as well as the processes. They also overlook what regulations have to be amended, what kind of, like in today, there is an impact on the industry. Therefore, the regulations which have been amended have been done by IBBI. The insolvency professionals are the critical role maker in this resolution process. They take care of the process. They become, once a resolution process is initiated, for example, the operational creditor or a financial creditor, when he files a case, if the application gets admitted, once the moratorium is initiated, the CRP has started, then the insolvency professional takes place and it takes over the management of the company. One has to understand that the process, the CIRP has its role, the IP makes it very, very clear that they become the director of the company. So the corporate debtor, the directors, and the management goes on. It gets suspended. Till that time, the resolution process is on. The insolvency professional, which we call it the interim resolution professional for the time being for 1 month when it is there. So it takes over the management of the corporate debtors. COC is a committee of creditors. It plays the most important role because it takes care of the decision making. So like in a management, the board of directors are there in a company who decides how a company has to function. So same way as a COC, committee of creditors, takes place in the shoes of board of directors. They take decision on behalf of the company for the well-being of the company and to make sure that there is a resolution process. CIRP, when it's initiated, now this is something which we must understand from the beginning, from the starting, how it starts. So at initial level, a default happens. As I have already told, the default today has to have a debt amount of rupees 1 crore or above. At 1 crore or above rupees, if the debt is there, one can file an application with NCLT at the territorial jurisdiction where it lies, with the corporate debtor register. Now, section 7 is how a financial creditor, a bank, FI, NBFC can file an application. Now here, it is important that one must also understand that a financial creditor who's initiating, the default has to happen today as of 1. That we must all understand. That is something which is the key judicial thing which we must understand here. And the financial creditor, once a default has occurred, they can simply file an application with NCLT seeking, and the prayers would be that they would be seeking initiation of corporate insolvency resolution process of the corporate. In case if the application which has been filed is incomplete, it would be rejected, giving 14 days time to the applicant to rectify the default, to rectify any defect which is there. As far as the operational creditor is there, the amount of default remains to be same. However, before initiating, once a financial creditor files an application, section 9, you have to send a demand notice. It is there in the section 8, which I have not specifically put in here, so that once you would read section 8, the section 8 gives you a mandatory mandation requirement, like in 138 complaint, when you have to file a criminal complaint and the check bounce, you have to first send a demand. Same way here also you have to send a demand notice, giving them 10 days time to the corporate debtor to repay or to show that they have paid you. Now, section 10 is something which is going on in between. The COVID-19 effect is also taking place. It is going on in the market that if there would be a suspension, the ministry has, the cabinet decision has been there. The media report shows that yes, the ministry have taken a case. They have taken a decision saying that they would be suspending section 7 and 9 and 10 as well. But as per me, I believe section 10 should not be a part of the suspension. Section 10 is something where a corporate applicant on its own motion files an application to declare himself as insolvent. The process remains same, the provisions, the applicability remains same. It is only that the corporate applicant on its own come to the NCLT and files an application. where you have to have certain conditions. You have to pass a resolution with 75% of the members seeking insolvency process. So once a section 7 or 9 or 10 is there, once it is initiated, the interim resolution professional, which is IRP, has to make a public announcement declaring that the insolvency resolution process has been initiated, wherein the information to be there, the name and address of corporate debtor has to be there. Most importantly, the date for submission of claims has to be there. So here, what does we mean by claim is the creditors, they may be operational creditors, they may be financial creditors, or if there is a corporate debtor, which is a real estate company. So there you would have a financial creditor in separate class. They are the home buyers, they would also fall, they would have to submit a claim so that the claim would be checked, would be taken care by the resolution professional. And for that, a date is given in the public announcement. The date, generally it has been, now the process shows, the code regulation 6 of CIRP regulation says that it has to be immediately. However, immediately further has been defined that it has to be the 3 days from the date of appointment of IRP. Appointment of IRP here, it means that the date when the insolvency order, when the moratorium and the NCLT has initiated CR, that from that day, within 3 days, you have to make public announcement. Time limit, now I'm going about, because time is something which is very essential in CIR. One has to take care of the time period and the timeline. Since CIRP, the lawmaker has made it very clear that this is a time-bound process. One has to take care of the time. The time limit as suggested and as given in the code, initially there was 180 days plus 90 days. Now, since IBC has been so evolving over a period of time, there have been many applications which used to be filed for exclusion of time, so that there has been extra time may be given for making out to a resolution, which is the intent. Therefore, seeking this and seeing the complaints and the issues which were being faced by the stakeholders, the ministry came out that yes, now the time period of 270 days is extended to 330. So it includes the period of litigation. There is any litigation which goes on during the CRP school. That time period now, there would be no exclusion, there would be total 330 days. Let us understand if 330 days also goes by and there has been no resolution, then the company would go into liquidation. The COC would have to pass a resolution with 66% vote. Once the company goes into liquidation, then the whole process of selling of the company's asset would be taken out. The IRP or the RP would be replaced with liquidator. It can be the same person or it can be a new person appointed by the COC. Now here, now we come to the second phase of the presentation, which is the effect of COVID-19, the changes which has taken place. And these are, that is why the webinar which have been titled is Radical Changes. The changes have been taken into to be a large effect. It would take time to come out from this kind of effect. The industry has been doing. The creditors have been going places. Now we must understand that the ministry have taken out few changes. It can be in the interest. One has to see whether it would be in the interest of the industry, along with whether it would be in the interest of the creditors who used to take care, who used to take benefit of this code by approaching NCLT and seeking their money. So the first effect which has come in the 24th March 2020 notification. That is section 4, which lays out the minimum threshold limit, which was at the time of initiation, at the time when the law was enacted, IPC law was enacted, it was 1 lakh. But now it has been increased to 1 crore. So this has been done very rightly. They have tried to go out to a process where they have said that there would be a lot of defaults, companies would not be able to pay. So therefore, since Section 4 proviso, that is very interesting, one would see. Section 4 proviso had a clause saying that the maximum limit which can be given is 1 crore. So that they have done so. So the ministry came out on this notification. Second, what they have done is they have extended the time period for the insolvency professionals. So the insolvency professionals are supposed to file their form and also pay certain percentage of fees. That date was coming around. That date was 30th April 2020. They were supposed to pay. That date has been extended. This has been done with the effect that the resolution professionals are not put under the pressure of filing forms during these testing times. Third, what they have done, the ministry, this is IBBI have done this. That is interesting. The regulations have been amended by IBBI. So what they have done is, earlier what they used to do was, the timeline, the period of 180 days plus this 90 days has to be there. So that 270 days plus 60 days have to be taken in one go. So there is no break in between. But now, seeing that the COVID-19 effect has come and one cannot properly go about and properly go ahead with the resolution process. So the IBBI came with the regulation saying that they would exclude the time period. So the time period of the lockdown has been excluded here. Interestingly, what they have done is, they have also said that the form would be excluded. The form filing has been delayed and you can file it till 30th of April. I would like to take you to this regulation because they have very interestingly, what they have done here is, yes. So what they have done is they have extended the time period, correct? They have said that the period of form filing would be extended and the period of COVID-19 lockdown, which have been made by the central government, would be excluded. However, one would see the date of notification which has come is 20th April. But the explanatory memorandum which has been given, it gives a retrospective effect. One would see that the notification amending the regulations could not be published in the Gazette of India due to the nationwide lockdown in the wake of outbreak of COVID. Now, this is very interesting and very important for us. The amendment regulations were therefore published on the website of the board for it to be effective from 29th March 2020, with a note that the same shall be published in the Gazette. So the intention of the governing board was to bring into force the amended regulation with effect from 29th March 2020. The regulations, the amended regulations have been published in the Gazette of India has been published on 20th of April, but with the effect from 29th March 2020. Coming back to the presentation, same procedure have been done in the liquidation process regulations as well. What they have done in that, they have excluded the time period and say with the retrospective effect, they have come out with these regulations. This 1 crore limit, I have already explained it to you. This is something which is very interesting. People in the market, and including the professionals as well as the stakeholders, the creditors, they are little nonplussed. They are confused as to what would happen to the existing cases. One would understand that the cases which have been filed pre 24th March 2022, so the cases which have been prior to 24th March which have been filed, they would, since the notification one would see, there is no retrospective effect given in that notification. So those cases, I think, should carry on. There would not be any effect. It could be that the NCLT, the adjudicating authority, may go ahead with seeking some resolution processes, some prepackaged deals which are going in the market. Speculation is that they would try to go ahead, even if the matters which have been pending, even if they get admitted, the adjudicating authority would like to go for the resolution and along with some process of leniency on the corporate. That is something which would be there. Interestingly, the cases which have been filed after 24th March, there have been e-filings have been done, cases have been filed on the portal of NCLT. Those cases are in the orange zone. So what I've done is, the cases which are yet to be heard goes in the orange zone, which are dicey zone. You don't know what would happen. My view is that those cases which have been filed have not been heard, and the amount of the threshold limit is more than 1 crore. That should, as well as those cases which have been filed prior to 24th March, and the limit, even if it is less than 1 crore, that cases should go. But cases which are in the red zone, this is something, there is no chance that it is going to come. Those cases would not be allowed, would not be entertained. Cases in which you have filed or which you have sent demand notice to the corporate debtor, but you have not filed the case, those cases would not be entertained. And cases which are below 1 crore and which would be, if you are going to file it post 24th March, would not be taken. So the impact of COVID-19 on IBC. So the major problem, and this is something which is there in the professionals, the resolution professionals are having issues. So the difficulties of resolution professionals on going to visit and complete the mandatory task under the IBC is a major issue. Let's take an example here. A company is based, a corporate debtor is situated in Chandigarh. Resolution professional has its office in Delhi. The factory is situated in Rohtak. So a person, the resolution professional, has to travel to Rohtak to see what are the stages, what are the issues which the factory people are having, what are the problems which have been faced by the persons who are taking care at the factory level. One cannot go because there is a complete lockdown. Those issues have still yet to be taken care, and it is getting difficult because one would have to wait and watch how things would take. Another option, what resolution professional, because these days the resolution professionals are taking care, the COCs, most of the resolution professionals are taking help of the IT. What they are doing is, they are doing the meetings on different web platforms which have been given, to make sure that at least the basic resolution process, whatsoever it can go, must go on. Second is, there is a temporary blockage in the implementation of resolution plan. That is something which nobody can help as of now. Because resolution plan, once it gets implemented, it has to have different issues. Some for taking licenses, if a corporate data which have been gone into the resolution process, the resolution applicant which takes over the company has to take care of many issues. Licenses are there. There are many other things which have to be taken care of. Those issues are stuck due to the lockdown. So one, the implementation is slow, and due to the slow industrial growth, in near future it could have more problems in implementation of resolution. One would also have to go and see that post COVID-19, once the effect is over and we come out to a situation where the NCLT starts taking the cases again. They may be old cases, but in those old cases also, if a case gets admitted, if the CRP initiates against a corporate debtor, the chances that a company gets resolved under the process is very rare, because then there will be issues of a resolution applicant not coming on to the stage of taking over. There could be situation where they may say that the resolution applicants which have already taken care, which have already taken control of the company, in those cases also one could ask for a withdrawal of resolution plan. However, in withdrawal of resolution plan, Honorable Supreme Court has given a judgment, though they have not has not given their judicial mind of whether withdrawal in resolution plan and whether withdrawal of resolution plan is allowed in IBC or not. But they, in the matter of Maharashtra Seamless Limited, seeing the facts, there the facts were little different. The resolution applicant had exercised its right over the uh, resolution plan. It went ahead also in Honorable NCLAT also, they challenged, they defended the case there, and then also filed an appeal in Supreme Court saying that the order passed by Honorable NCLAT is wrong and it has to be set. There, the Supreme Court, they have said that there is no provision under the code, but one has to see whether today in the circumstances where the industry has taken a U-turn, where the effect on the economy has been so bad, and one would have to see whether the resolution plan can be withdrawn today or not. This something would be evolved during the time. Now on the assets, the valuation of assets depends majorly on the economy, on the market condition. So if you talk about the fair value, yes, the fair value may remain same, but if you talk about the market value, that has depleted due to COVID-19. But valuation is still is something where I believe there should post CIRP, once CIRP process is going on and the effect of COVID-19 to this by, and it comes down to a level, one would have to reassess. The other big impact is that the payment cycle which have been disturbed would create more defaults in near future. Now the problem for a creditor whose amount of default may not be 1 crore, but it is still, they are handbound that they cannot use this process of IBC. So this would create lot many other issues, payment cycles would be disturbed, and one would also have to see that the IBC, the purpose of IBC, which is resolution, would go down, because the resolution plans now would be also be hit by frustration. A resolution applicant may come down and ask that there is a force majeure, that they are unable to take on the company. One would have to see. So interestingly, one would have to see whether they can ask for whether they can invoke force majeure or not. Because the resolution plan, if it does not contain a force majeure clause, it is very rare that the NCLT would allow a situation of this. Now there are situations that if a creditor is unable to take benefit of the IBC, means if they cannot file a case under IBC, then there are other alternate mechanisms one would have to go by. So that alternate mechanism also includes recovery suits, that includes arbitrations. The MSMEs particularly also government is coming down with good initiatives, where MSME councils have been made in different states. Especially if I would talk about in Punjab, the MSME council is doing a great work. I have been a part of few MSME council proceedings, and the council at Ludhiana, the council at Chandigarh are doing a fantastic job. They are making sure at least the interest of the MSMEs are protected. going by the relaxations now, which have been given under the timing, which I have already discussed. So the timelines have been relaxed. Supreme Court, on its own motion, also had relaxed the timeline. So what they said was that the period of limitation has been extended in almost all the cases. So the cases which relates to CIRP and all other codes and acts, the time period is extended till the time the lockdown is there. Interestingly, what Supreme Court says is the period of lockdown issued by central government. One would have to see that in the coming months, like in June or July, there could be a situation that central government may take down and they may remove lockdown, but the state governments may carry on with the lockdown. That is something which is a tricky thing, which we see how things would evolve. As per me, the government then also should come out with some kind of amendment at that time, because the effect of COVID-19 remains there as of now, and one would have to revisit on these limitations. During this lockdown also, there have been urgent hearings which have been going on. So that urgent hearings, NCLT came out with a notice on 7th of April 2020. So what they did was, they said that if there is some IBC case which has to be heard, which requires that there has to be a certain urgency and a case has to be heard, in that case, one would have to come out with some joint memo, would have to make sure that they file a joint 3-pager note so as to see whether the urgency remains to be there, and then the registrar gets the case. I would ask that there are some participants which have been putting some mark on the uh, slides. I would ask them and request them not to put here any mark on this. Thank you, and I will carry. So one would have to see whether those cases which are urgent in the cases NCLT would list, and there have been cases. Let me tell you that NCLT has also passed a resolution plan during this time. What they have done is, there was a resolution plan. Resolution plan was filed, it was pending for approval. So in that, what they did was, in those resolution applicants was making sure that certain benefits was to be given by that resolution applicant during COVID-19. What they were doing was, they were making shelters for the patients which were having coronavirus. So what they did was, in that case, they have, since this is something which is urgent and it has been done in the noblest of causes, therefore that resolution plan have been approved by NCLT. That is something which urgent hearings have been done in that. More so now, NCLT also has been taking care that any pendency in the orders which have been reserved prior to the period of lockdown, in those cases also they have been trying to pronounce the order, and in case if there is some clarification required, they have taken out with a circular saying that they may de-reserve the order, you could hear them. Now let us see from the view that how the world economy and how the other countries have been dealing with this situation and what changes they have brought in insolvency. This is very interesting. One must take care and see what kind of changes the other countries have brought by. Just a minute. So what Australia have done is, Australia, like in India, what they have done, they have increased the statutory limit from the Australian dollar 2000 to $20,000 for the next 6 months. They have clarified that this would be for the period of 6 months, unlike in India, what they have. Interestingly, they have also said that the companies, the corporate debtors which receives a demand notice under the IBC, earlier in the code, they were given 21 days time. That period has been extended to 6 months. This is something which is very, very different from the other countries what they have done. In India, the time period is 10 days. As I explained to you, that you have to send a demand notice. So that demand notice, like I said, the time period is 10 days. Post 10 days, if the amount defaulted has not been paid, in that situation, in India, you can file a case. Same ways in Australia, the time period is 21 days, to which they have extended it to 6 months. This is something which must keep in mind that this would not only encourage the creditor, which has to recover its money, but it would also make sure that the corporate debtor is under a clutch of 6 months. That post 6 months, there could be a situation where they can file a case. Immediately, a creditor can file a case against the corporate debtor. So one can have settlement process during the 6 months. In Singapore, what they have done is they have increased the limits, and they have also done a brilliant job. They have enacted a new law. So what they have done is they have taken out a law called COVID-19 Measures Act. What they have done in that, they have said that there would be a moratorium on those cases. All the cases includes whether it belongs to a civil case, whether it belongs to a criminal case, whether it is an insolvency. So what they have done here, they have given a period of total 6 months of moratorium for all the cases. Let us see what Germany have done. What Germany have done is they have that they have taken out a cutoff date. That cutoff date is 1st March 2020. So, for example, if a creditor wants to file a case under insolvency code in Germany, they have to show and portray that their default have occurred prior to 1st March 2020. That's a good option which they have done. They have taken out a situation where they have made sure that only those corporate debtors gets the benefit of this who have been affected by COVID-19, and there is no unintended beneficiary. One must keep in mind. So they have also said, the Germany have also made sure that they have extended this time period. They have said that one cannot file a case till 30th September. Along with that, Germany has made sure that even if post 30th September also, they are coming out with new laws which would make sure that the case which is filed also takes care of the corporate debt, that they don't go into a wasted insolvency where there is no benefit to the creditor. Now what France have done. So what they have done in France, they have a state of cash flow insolvency. This means that your liabilities, if it exceeds the assets, then you have to show that there is a cash flow insolvency. Here in India, if I talk about and if I compare the law, in India you only have to show that there is a default of an amount, that amount to raise. But in France, you have to not only show there is a default, but you have to also show that that a corporate debtor against whom you intend to file an insolvency case, the cash flow insolvency state, you have to show that your liabilities does if the assets exceeds the liability, the amount of liability, then the case would not be admitted, because then there is a situation where a corporate debtor requires time to repay. So what they have done, they have brought out an ordinance that this cash flow insolvency assessment rules now they have amended. So for 3 months from 23rd March, what they have done, they have till 23rd August 2020, they have said that since during this period, our insolvency would not be initiated. And they would see whether post 23rd March 2020 also, whether they could file a case, one would have to revisit. So as of now, what France have done is, this change I would say has taken care that it would take care of those corporate which are actually hit by the effect of COVID-19. Now let us see what Russia have done. So the Russia came out with a different kind of law. They have given a moratorium, but they have also said that during this period, if there is any financial sanctions, if there are any fines, any penalties which accrues, all those penalties would also be put on hold. So apart from the basic 6 months moratorium, they have very clearly have come out with situation that you don't have to even pay any fines and penalties. Let us go with Netherlands now. Netherlands, the Dutch courts actually have done a job which India should have done, because the number of cases what India has it would, I'm surely it would immensely simplify the process of courts and insolvency. They have done, yes, video conferences have been allowed. So they have very clearly have said that you don't have to have any abuse of people. Therefore, they have said that one should be careful in dealing with insolvency cases, and they have also said that one should promote, motivate mediation between the parties. This is something which India should also come out. I don't think so. The IBC out of court settlement does take place, but it should be a situation post COVID-19. I'm sure the members at NCLT that they would promote mediation. So this is something which India must take care and must take a good inference out of it. What Spain have done it, let's see now. So what Spain have done it, there they don't have insolvencies, they have compulsory liquidations and bankruptcy. So what they have said it, that those cases when emergency is going on, the creditor's case would not be taken up, but they have given a demarcation to those cases and to those corporates who are coming on their own. So like in section time, the kind of process which have been given. So in Spain, those corporate applicants who wants to go into the liquidation on its own would be given priority. So that clarity they have given. They have also said the Spain have come out with a clear timeline that till 31st December, don't admit any insolvency. This is something which I am sure till the time this COVID-19 effect is there, India would also have to deal with this situation. What we have heard in the media is that there would be a suspension, but that suspension has to see till how much time. It may be 6 months, it may be 12 months, but we have to see. But in Spain, what they have done is they have taken out that till 31st December 2020, there will be no insolvency. Now, what do we expect from the proposed ordinance? So there, as I said you, there would be a 6-month suspension, which is something which has been there in the media report, and the cabinet decision has been passed. So the situation would be that the old cases would continue. Now the old cases, even if the cases which have been filed post 24th March, but the amount of default, the minimum threshold limit, which is 1 crore, if it exceeds that, then those cases, I think so, they would continue. The period of 6 months, what we have read it also, and as per my view also, it would extend to another 6. So during this period of suspension of 1 year, the old cases have to be dealt properly, and one should also take care of the cases which have been filed post 24. The ministry must come out with some clarification on those cases. The cases which I have put it on the orange zone, if you would take down on the slide, let me take you to those slides in which I had demarcated these zones. So these orange zones, there should be a clarity on this also. Whether these kinds of cases which have been filed, whether they would be continued or whether there would be a window given for them, one would have to see what would happen. Now let's get back onto the possible fallout from this. So the possible fallout is, even if those ongoing cases which are going on, those cases would have a major effect. The resolution processes would be difficult to go ahead. The cases in which pleadings have been completed, the arguments have yet to be heard. The cases, even if they get admitted, there will be a shortage of resolution applicants taking over the corporate debtors. Due to the corporate growth, the economy has to take place. The economy, till the time the economy does not heal, I don't think so the resolution process would be able to work on its pace, on the process, on the pace it was before the COVID-19 effect. More importantly, let's see that even if the ordinance, which is the proposed ordinance, if it comes out, I'm sure there'll be lot many litigations which will be filed in Supreme Court as well as in High Court. So that multiple litigations have to be done. Along with this is something which I believe this would give some kind of, COVID-19 has given some kind of benefit. Majorly, this has been a bad impact on the economy. But yes, some kind of benefit to those companies, those corporate debtors, which wanted to pay, but due to certain conditions, due to certain problems, they were unable to pay. They would be given some automatic breather for them to go, which are undergoing processes. In case, let us have a presumption that in case the resolution process is going on, even if those resolution processes, the RP is unable to find a resolution applicant and the resolution plan does not come ahead, then the fallout, which is a major fallout, the company, the corporate debtor would go under liquidation. This is a major effect. Liquidations, I would say, as of now has been on to the hold due to the COVID-19 effect. The cases have been, there have been lesser COC meetings which have been taken. One would, post July 2020, I'm sure there would be change in the economy and there would be a better situation going. Now my views on the steps taken by the government. As for me, I don't think so the government would, yes, that's a good step of increasing 1 lakh to 1 crore. One would have to see that post 3 months or maybe post 6 months, that limit may come down so that it can help the MSME creditor. If you would see, when the 24th March 2020 notification came, before that, our finance minister in its media reports and in the press release, they had mentioned that this is done to protect the MSME. However, I could not understand that the MSMEs whose money is stuck, who has to get its debt recovered from a corporate debtor, is also handbound because a, a MSME may not have an amount of default of 1 crore. Those MSME companies would be left high and dry. As of now, since there have been no uh, active cases which have been filed, or NCLT adjudicating authority have not been taking regular hearings, so this would have a major effect. And I don't think so the government have taken a right step in only increasing. One would have to revisit here the exit gates which have been provided now. I would also think the suspension, even if it comes down, the government must also, along with the suspension, must come out with some adequate steps even to the MSMEs or to the companies which are in dire need. So there could be a statement can be made to show that how those companies, the way Russia have done it, the way Netherlands have done it, France have done it, that if you could show that due to COVID-19, if there is something, that can be given a exclusion. But the companies who are big time defaulters, who have already done a default from 2018, 19, and if they take shield of this, which automatically they would take shield. But in that case, this would have a major effect on the economy as well as on the industry. Taking ahead, this step also is somewhere I feel that even if we give a suspension of 6 months and we put a total block on the insolvency process, this is a short time frame. The longer period, they would have to come out with some good steps which other countries have taken, and India, I'm sure, would be able to take all these steps. Taking care, especially of the non-FMCG industry, where this situation, the current situation has been hit very bad. I would say that there have to be certain solutions which have to be made out. Some scheme should be provided. Like in media reports, there have been cases and there have been certain pre-packaged deals, the things which have been going on, that ministry may come out with some pre-packaged deal. That's a new scheme which we are hearing. But if it is being implemented in its own course, this would give a better, at least some relief to the companies which are hit, the creditors which are having a tough time due to COVID-19. Suspension, again, I say that is not the solution, it is only to pause. Mediation, as I said it, like the way Netherlands have done it, we should also come out with some situation where some samadhan, some remedy must be given to the creditor. The corporate debtors and the creditors should sit together. Mediation rules can be formed up, not only for IBC, I'm saying, for the cases which are not even under IBC, so that at least some relief are given to those creditors, companies which are in dire need, and they can restart there. One would also have to see that what kind of uh, limitation time period which is there, which Supreme Court along with the IBBI has given relaxation on it. But one would have to see that cases which are time barred, the Limitation Act would not apply. Supreme Court has very rightly, Honorable Supreme Court has taken out with the clarification. But even if with this, I am hopeful that the clarification should be made in respect to the debts which gets time barred in this time. IBBI or MCA should come up with a clarification, making sure that the debtors, the corporate debtors, may not take any defense on this point, and that they may not try to stop the process. With this, I thank Ligambox again, and I thank the audience which have been very patiently have been dealing and have heard. Now I it is over to Simarjit now so that we can have our question and answer and the queries which we have it from the audience. Simar, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, sir. First of all, for such an insightful session. Sir,
thank
we have
you.
received a number of questions, be it from Facebook Live
Right.
or directly here. So, sir, the first
Yes.
question is from Ms. Ushma Jain, that as mentioned in
Right.
the topic of changes with enactment of Section 40C for
Yes.
excluding the moratorium period, what
Yes.
effects will it have on implementing resolution plan which has to be strictly adhered to the time prescribed by the code?
Correct. So
Yes, sir.
see, the IPBI in CIRP regulation have excluded the period of lockdown. So the implementation would take place. The implementation vis-a-vis the lockdown period, I would say there is no as such connection. I would tell you how. That IBBI CRP regulation only takes care of the period in which a company is undergoing CRP. You get my point? A process gets implemented when it is being when it gets approval from NCLT as well as COC. So one would have to see that it may crop up that case of resolution plan there would be lot many cases which would be filed by the resolution applicant to NCLT seeking explanation on how to deal with those timelines. But one has to come and see whether there will be any reform implementation.
Okay. I hope, Ushma, you are satisfied with the answer. Now, sir, very interesting question has come from Mr. Raghuvi, that
Yes,
since there has been a lot of failure in the startups in India, and government has increased the monetary applicability of IBC to 100 crore. So,
yes. 1 crore.
has the
Yes,
1 crore,
1
sorry,
crore, not
1
1.
crore, sorry. So, has the
Yes.
government neglected the rights of the small and the medium level creditors, sir?
I believe so. There have been certain, see, at times when you are going to take a bigger step, but obviously there would be oppression on the small and medium enterprises. That is what has happened. That is what I said that ministry has only taken a easy exit and maybe post once this the government comes out with some situation, there may be some scheme coming down for the MSMEs as
Okay. Let's see. We hope
well.
that
Yes.
such a scheme actually comes out. Uh, sir, there's another question as well from
Yes.
Ms. Jhalak Srivastav, that what problems can surface with respect to suspension of initiation of insolvency proceedings, as has been heard in the news. So she's asking about the suspension
Yes,
of the
suspension.
yeah,
Now I
yeah.
said it in my presentation and the webinar also I
Hmm.
included it. Let's see, suspension may be a multi-fold suspension. A suspension would has to be a prospective, but one would have to see that they may not take down the cases which have been filed but not heard. There could be a situation that they may include those cases. Likewise, Simar, if you would have seen, and the audience must have also seen the regulation, the CIRP regulations, which have been amended, though have been notified on another date, on a future date, but they have been made effective from the date prior to the date of publication. Therefore, Supreme Court also have decided in many cases, a law has to be prospective unless it is made prospective. One has to see whether any prospective effect is made by the government. And if it comes, I'm sure there would be challenges on, one would be challenging the provisions of the ordinance in case if
Okay.
the ordinance comes out with a retro.
Okay. So there's one question from Advocate Akshay Baware from the Bombay High Court, that what is the impact of IBC in recovery of debts due to banks? Because there are some overriding provisions of SARFAESI Act and IBC. So he wants to know about that.
So the question, as far as the banks are concerned, they are treated as financial creditors under Section 7, right? Section 7 provides them a remedy to file a case. See, whereas a banker or a FI is concerned, the amount of debt is generally very high if you compare it with the operational credit. So the increase in the threshold limit, I don't think so there would be much effect on a bank or maybe any financial institution. So the question which I have understood is that whether there would be any effect on the bank, correct? You know,
Yes, sir.
whether
Yes, sir.
there would be any effect on the
Hmm.
bankers post increase or suspension.
Yes, sir.
See, as far as the increase, I have already told you, suspension, but obviously would made a big difference for the bankers. They would have to go again back to the DRT, SARFACI, and one would have to avail the remedies as provided under SARFACI.
Okay. There's one more question from the Facebook only, that whether increased threshold limit is retrospective or prospective in nature.
No, this is prospective because the notification
Hmm.
of 24th March 2020, which came,
Hmm.
is prospective since they have not given any retrospective.
Okay.
Right?
So the answer which you gave related to the MSME, there's one more question related to add on to that. That
Please,
till time of threshold limit increased, can a MSME file a complaint under MSME Act? That is the MSME Samadhan Act. Will it
yeah.
be fruitful or not? Interesting question.
See, if you have already filed a MSME, if a MSME entity already has filed a IPC case, or if it, let's say, if it wants to file in near future, then I would recommend not to go for MSME Samadhan. I tell you the reason. The practical view it would be that, for example, if you are filing a MSME reference under the MSME Samadhan Act before MSME Council, there may be a situation that a corporate entity may come and they may take a defense that, for example, if the MSME entity had delivered goods, and if they come out saying that they have goods which have been delivered are defective or there are certain issues, but till that time the MSME entity has not initiated the process for IPC. The problem would be that in MSME cases, those cases, one, the councils only go as per the pleadings which have been given. So they would record that objection, a defect has come. This would have a major impact on MSME entity going on for IPC case, because the Section 9 cannot be successful if there is a if the situation arises that there has been a dispute between the parties. Yes, I would add on similar to what you have said. I would add on, there could be a good situation today. There has been no suspension as on today. So by email, a MSME entity can send a legal demand notice under Section 8. Once you send a demand notice, then the IBC process at least triggers. At least you have started with your procedure. So post to that, if you file a MSME reference, there have been judgments of adjudicating authority on this point, that a dispute has, including the case of Mobilox, Honorable Supreme Court had given the clarity on what is dispute, and there has to be a pre-existence of dispute. In that case, the MSME entity would be able to show that they had sent a demand notice under Section 8 IPC on this day, which was prior to MSME complaint, where the company have taken a purported dispute and is only trying to evade away from the liability.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
hope
I hope Anuj sir,
this clarifies.
yes, Anuj Solanki sir has is
Yes.
satisfied with the answer of that. I hope he will reply it to us very soon. Sir, there's
Yes.
one more
Right.
question from Mr. Rishabh Shukla, that with relation to the Bhanu Pratap versus HBN Diaries judgment, it was stated that the IBC will have overriding effect on the SEBI laws with relation to the default in collective investment schemes. So, sir,
Yes.
he wants to ask that will there be any, will the judiciary reconsider this judgment now after the COVID-19 impact on IBC?
I don't think so, because see, if there would be a Section 238, which gives a clear power and a clear overriding effect of IBC over other laws. One would have to see, because see, if you would start amending the procedural laws, the laws which have been made as a heart in the IBC. So this section 238 is a heart in the body of the IBC. So if we would start amending it, and if we start giving the overriding effect gets weighted away, this would be, I believe, a major blow for IBC. So I don't think so ministry would go.
Okay. And sir, the answer for your MSME, Mr. Anuj Solanki is very much satisfied with the answer.
I'm thankful for that.
And so the last question for the day, sir, there's one question that can you elaborate upon the alternative steps which can be taken for the proposed suspension in the IBC? Are there any
Alternate steps for recovery you are asking?
for proposed suspensions in the recovery? Yes, sir.
Right. See, one I have said, one is arbitration. Then the recovery suits are there, as well as there are other recovery mechanisms. For example, you can send them the legal notices, and by sending them legal notice, make sure that you have a good trail. Because see, I tell you, even if there is a suspension of 6 months or maybe 1 year, post that the situation would come back to its normal. So one would have to be careful that if you avail the, for example, if you are actually so interested in filing a IBC case, but somehow let's say the IBC procedure gets suspended, and you avail the procedure of arbitration, and let me tell you, then it will be way more difficult for you to file an IBC case in case if the disputes get is taken up by the other side. So one has to be careful. So the situation is that the litigation also as of now would not be that easy. One would have to wait, one would have to reassess the situation, and then only one would take steps as far as the litigation and recovery. I would also add on few to what these cases have been told. So I would also add on that let's see the process of IBC. It has evolved over a period of time. In 3.5 years, it has taken plethora of judgments have come out by Honorable Supreme Court. IBBI regulations have been amended many times. I'm sure the central government is not going to take away this law so easily when they have put so much of effort in implementing the provisions of this code. I am 100% sure that post COVID-19 effect is over and the economy comes to its normal pace, IBC would be back with its full rigor.
Sorry, sir, to increase one more question at the end. It's my personal
please,
question,
please.
sir. Sir, being a student in the almost last year only, so since the proceedings are now suspended, what future can we see in the IBC field if we want to come, sir, after 1 year or so?
The future, I'm sure, would be much brighter to the future what we as a professional, the IBC law practitioners would be seeing right now. So see, there is a halt. And dealing with the client's queries, it is becoming actually difficult for the IBC law practitioner to give them a concrete answer to it. But post 1 year, when the situation would be back, when IBC, I am hopeful that the government would, if the suspension comes back, then it would make sure that the IBC procedure would be back on its. Even if the suspension comes back, I am sure it would have a great opportunity for the budding professionals. One would have to keep reading the law, the judgments. Let me tell you, Simad, the judgments which have been pronounced by various high courts and honorable Supreme Court, it would take another year actually to read down and for at least for a budding professional or a law student to go ahead and to be thorough with those judgments. There have been so many judgments in the
I hope that we
I'm
are
hopeful, yes.
Yes, sir. Let's be hopeful. Okay, sir, a big thank you, sir, that
My pleasure.
you
My
have
pleasure. I'm sure
give
the
so much
participant
insights on our topic and helped us to understand IBC suspension and everything very much easily, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for that. And
I'm
I hope
grateful to Ligambox and to you. You have been a great moderator, Simar.
thank you, sir. I hope we'll be able to conduct few more webinars with you. And
Sure.
to all the audience there for the future
Yes.
webinars, we would like to announce that on 14th of May, there will be one more webinar which we'll be conducting, and SP sir will be a part of it. I have
Yes, sir.
yes, I am forwarding that brochure on our group. The flyer is there, so everyone can avail that. The Google
You
form
may
and
name the topic.
yes, sir. The topic for that will be the what will be the future prospects of law with CS. So the students who are going for CS or the students who are doing both the things, they will be able to get a good future prospects. Being sir will be there as a litigation lawyer in the company practitioner, and then they will a very good guest of there will be a very good guest who will tell us about that how CS has helped her to get into her role as a professor as and she's a doctor as well. She has done her PhD. So it'll be a very good session. I hope everyone join that session. I am also attaching
Right.
the Google form for it.
Simar, you may also add on that my PPT, if somebody wants to have it,
Sir, I
they can
was
have it from you.
about to come that. The PPT which sir has shared with us today, it will be uploaded on our website and various other platforms of Legambox. So don't worry about that. By 8:30 or by 9 p.m., the PPT will be uploaded. So
Right.
thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir.
Simar, once again. And to the
Thank you.
Ligambox, I sign it off.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye, sir.